I have a really fun waterfall painting for you today on a 12 by 24 canvas. Let's get going. To get us going today, I have a 12 by 24 gessoed hardboard. And what I've done is I've taken a Richardson oil stick and I've kind of sketched a basic layout of my painting that I want to complete onto that board just to give me kind of a guide. And so that'll just, that'll change. This is not a very detailed drawing. It's just a really quick sketch. So as I do the different passes of paint on the canvas, or on the board, we'll refine that drawing as we go along. So don't worry if you get a sketch on there and it doesn't look perfect, you can clearly see that this is not a perfect sketch. So don't worry about yours as we go on. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here and I've got King's Blue and titanium white. I'm going to bring a little bit of this titanium white over. I'm going to punch in a little bit of my background sky, and I want that to be very light back there in that background. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that white up there to brighten that up. And right now that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to take this old ratty number 4 filbert brush because I don't need a lot of precision right now. I'm trying to use big brush strokes, and I'm just going to punch in a little bit of sky over here. Again, not a lot of detailed marks. I'm using big brush strokes here. Just kind of scrubbing some of this color in. Okay, because I'll refine the drawing as I go along. I don't need a whole lot because I'm going to have some clouds over here. And some sky right there, bumping up against this distant mountain back there. And then I'm going to make this a little darker over on this side of this mountain. Okay, so this mountain back here is going to be our nice big mountain off in the distance. And we've got a little tiny mountain back here that's even further off. It's not going to have much color at all. It's going to be very, very light and gray to push it off into the background. All right, so I'm going to get some clouds in, which is actually what I'm going to do next. I'm going to punch in some very, very basic clouds back there in these little voids. So I'm just going to kind of wipe off that brush. And I want a little bit of that blue to remain in that brush, so I didn't wash it. I'm just going to come over here and grab some of my titanium white and kind of put it right on that edge of that blue, just to tone down the brightness of that white. And then I can come here and scrub in using just very basic brush strokes here. Just punch in some clouds. Now these clouds are not a focal point of the painting, so I really wouldn't worry too much about really trying to make these masterful. We're really just looking for some kind of basic cloud shapes. And I'm kind of feathering these out as I come off, just to make the edges not so rough. I just kind of want these to sit back there and float. Now I'm using a gray gesso board, so some of that gray is going to come through my clouds, and that's actually part of the purpose of me doing them this way. I'm using very little paint on the board because I want these clouds to be a little lighter in value. I want them grayed down, and that'll help push them back into the distance. So it's going to kind of come behind that cloud or that mountain just a little bit. I don't want to leave a line in between the cloud and the mountain that I have to deal with. So I'm actually going to put this cloud over the edges of my sketch in there, just a little bit. So most of that King's Blue that we put in there has actually just been covered up. The reason why I like King's Blue is because King's Blues are really just a fantastic color for skies. I learned it, from watching a painter named Carl Bretsky. A couple of others that I like really use a lot of King's Blue in their skies. It's just a great sky color. But you can use any blue that you've got. You just have to, mix it to the color that you want. This is either good straight out of the tube, or I can use it in conjunction with, whites or yellows or whatever to make skies. If I use it with too much yellow, I can make, or a lot more yellow. I mean, I can get some really pretty greens with it. So yeah, so I do like it. So this little guy is just gonna kind of sit back here. Again, you see I'm not putting much detail in this. I'm just kind of making some interesting kind of flicky marks, and that gets in clouds without too much trouble. Now, if the painting was focusing on clouds, I would spend a lot more time on these. I'd be much more worried about the shapes they're making, the movement they're making in the sky. But for here, I just need some very basic shapes in the back. And remember, this is also just the first pass of this thing. So if I decide later that I want to refine these clouds, then I can go back into them and kind of change them up. Here, let's just have this little guy move back behind that mountain too. So we'll just have these guys take up most of that space. Here, just we're gonna kind of getting back there behind that cloud, or the mountain, I mean. And I can wipe out this before I start applying my mountain color too, so don't worry too much. If you're not coloring inside the lines, this isn't grade school where you have to worry too much about that, and we know that we can wipe these off. They're not like crayons, so we can wipe these. Heck, you can even just wipe it off the finger if you want. It's not that big of a deal. There's so little paint here. I'm not too worried. Okay, so now we just have some very, very, very basic clouds back in there. And we'll refine those. We will put in some little more details on those clouds after we get these blocked in. So what we're doing right now is we're just kind of blocking in the painting, get some basic shapes in there with our mid-tone colors so that we can apply both the highlights and the shadows later. So as we're moving forward, I'm going to start to get in a little bit of of this mountain back here. So this mountain is way off in the distance. So what we're trying to get the viewer to do is to kind of look at the waterfall and then also move back into that background to take a little journey, kind of mostly predominantly on the right hand side of this canvas. So we want to make this mountain off in the distance to be a lot grayer, bluer and grayer, to push it into the background. So I'm going to grab a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to get some ivory black out as well. And of course, I already have my King's Blue and my titanium white. I could possibly mix a little bit of blue into this mixture that I'm going to make, and I'll determine whether or not I'm going to do that in a bit. Certainly, we're going to want to lighten that up. So I'm going to take some of this brown, take some of this black, wipe off my knife to keep my paints as clean as I can, bring in some of this white. Let's see what kind of color we get. Now I don't want to mix just one homogeneous color, so you'll see I'll mix this kind of out into a circle, and I'll add lights and darks in there now that I've got kind of a basic color there. I think that's a great technique to work with. That way you're not always grabbing the same color. So on this side over here, I'll mix some more light. Okay, and then over here, I'll mix some dark. Okay, and I'll also mix a little more brown down here. Now I have a lot of colors that I can choose from to go in there and paint this. So I'm going to actually start with something somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to go back to this old brush that we were using. It's got, of course, a little bit of the white that's in there. Man, it's got a little bit of the white Sorry, let me back up. So I'm going to take this brush that I was using before, just this number 4 filbert that's long. It's got a lot of road wear on it, folks. And I'm using this just because I'm doing so much scrubbing. I don't want to damage a new brush. So hang on to these old brushes. By the way, this old brush makes some incredible foliage, you know, some leaves on trees and bushes and stuff like that. So I like to keep this around. I've had this thing for years. I like to use it. Okay, so I'm going to come in here somewhere in this mid-tone, maybe a little bit to the light. I'm going to grab some of this paint. I'm going to just go ahead and low both sides. And I'm going to hope that this is light enough back here. Oh yeah, to give me the impression that we've got, you know, some distance back there. So I'm going to make this kind of jaggy. So remember, I told you that our sketch was just very basic. And so it was really nice and smooth over there. So I don't really want that. So our light source, by the way, is coming from the right-hand side today, just so you know. So I will put much darker colors away from the light source. And obviously we'll put much more highlights over here. Oh, I grabbed some darks down in there, and that's great. Not too worried. All right, so I'm just kind of scrubbing in some variations of colors in here, and that's going to kind of help us, you know, as we move along through this painting. There's going to be another slope that's going to come here and then another here. So we're working on this most distant area first. Okay, I'm not worried about super crisp lines either in the back, because as you move, that's one of the other reasons why I use a filbert, because it places soft edges on your items back there. Yeah, the shape of your brush, the brush that you choose actually is pretty helpful to helping you give the appearance of distant lines. So, you know, something that's so far off in the distance won't have, almost knocked my light over there, sorry folks. Things that are off in the distance will not have super sharp edges to them, generally speaking. You know, your eyes can't focus on all the details. And so a great filbert brush that you have, like this one that's ratty in particular, will give you fuzzier, rounded edges off in the back, and it'll actually make your painting look a little bit more believable. I say that, and then, you know, of course, I'm hoping that my painting is going to turn out to be believable to you, so we'll see. But then as you move forward into the painting, you can use brights and flats, which are the brushes that have right angles on them, kind of like this brush right there. See, it's got a right angle on it, versus the filbert, which is rounded. Okay, so rounded edges give you fuzzier lines. Right-angled brushes give you crisper lines. And so if you moving forward in your painting, you know, you'll see as we get further along that we'll come in with a, and I'm just scrubbing, pretty simple to see that I'm just scrubbing in here. We'll come in with brushes that have right angles on them, so flats and brights. And we'll make our foreground, mid and foregrounds a little sharper than we're doing here off in this background. So I kind of want some, you can kind of start shaping what you want your mountain to look like. I want a very sharp edges to the right. Maybe coming down here. So we can kind of move paint around just to kind of visually compose our mountain. But on the next passes here, we're gonna actually dial this in much clearer. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. And I'm going to change this one more time too, probably. I'll refine this right side right now. I'm just kind of getting my left colored in. Now remember, I'm not grabbing that same color every time, which is why you can probably on the camera even already see that I've got some variations in my colors up here. I'm trying to grab from here and there. And as I keep working this mountain, you'll see more color changes. All right, right, so let me grab a little. So now I'm starting to think a little more clearly what I want to do shape-wise for the mountain. Again, this is just a quick blocking in, so I'm just kind of getting some basic shapes going. Blocking in my, what we call an underpainting. So I want this painting down here so that some of this color will show through in my final product. So don't worry, I haven't forgotten about that little mountain back there. We'll get that in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush just so I can get this tiny little area back here. And I want that to be super, super light. So I hardly want you to be able to see that at all. So we're going to try this color, super lights, from the same pile that we mixed. So I'm just going to kind of draw in. That might be a little too light. Let's... Of course, I recommend you watch portions of this video multiple times before you attempt to paint, because I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to wipe things off. You're going to see the whole process. I'm not hiding anything from you. So if I'm making a big boo-boo, I'm going to tell you. So if you watch it through, you'll be able to see those changes that I make, so that you won't make the same mistakes. Or if it's not that I'm making a mistake, but you just want to see the whole process through, then that really is helpful to you, so that you know where I'm going. Because a lot of this stuff will look, in progress paintings, will look, a little strange. Some people call them, one of my favorite artists, Haiti Joe Summers, calls them the ugly duckling stages. Paintings will go through that ugly duckling stage. And so sometimes it's better to watch the video all the way through, so you know when something's in the ugly duckling stage that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it can it can be pretty later. So I'm going to kind of shade this mountain shape back here. Really is not so important, and we can refine that as we go along. So so don't worry, this is kind of just a blob back there, but that's just blocked in. So we'll put highlights and shadows on that in just a little bit after we get everything else blocked in. This blocking in procedure will take quite a bit of time, and so I do recommend that you take your time with it, and get it in, properly so that you don't have to, struggle later on trying to get color and then try to get color to show through and all that kind of stuff. The blocking in process is going to allow you to do that. Automatically, your underpainting will show through the colors that you put on top of it. Oh, my dogs are up for the morning. That's great. Sorry, you can hear them back there going crazy. So, So I'm going to go ahead and block in this area. So this is still a part of the original, mountain back here, but I'm going to put a nice stronger shadow. So I'm going to do the underpainting a little darker. Going probably right here-ish, like maybe here-ish down. I'm going to kind of block in just a little bit. I'm going to have a snow patch here in a little bit that's going to come through down here, kind of wind through this area. Of course, you know that already because you've seen the finished painting before you clicked on the video to watch it. So me, I have a general prototype painting, but I'm kind of making this up as I go because every painting is different. So I kind of want this to be a little darker area where it's not really quite getting the sunlight to hit that. Maybe it's just a little lip over here where it kind of drops downward. So we'll change those angles too so it comes downward. Angles are very important with your brush strokes because I just made something that was sloping, but just by changing the brush strokes and going this way, now it's a drop off. Okay, and it's very visible. I don't know if it's visible to you on the video, but it's very visible to me here that drops off, and then I'm going to lay in snow there. So nice big snow patch. We'll get in a little bit after we get this blocking in done. So, as I think we've kind of mentioned it before in other videos, that when you're talking about the values of things, see this mountain back here is much lighter than this. So value is the lightness or darkness of a color as in relation to a grayscale from 0 to 100%. They're usually broken down in groups of 10% blocks. And so this is lighter in value than this. This is darker. So as things are moving forward, generally speaking, they become darker in color, generally speaking. I mean, obviously angles will change value too. So since mountains are all kind of sloped vertical, this one is, these are kind of similar items. And so as we're coming forward in the painting, that will be a darker painting, which then means if we're going to do this slope here, it would be, generally speaking, slightly darker in color here, darker in value here. Now, we also may have a shadow that's being cast over here. So, so when you see this could be even darker if it's got a shadow, okay? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's catching a little light today, so it's not going to be so much darker in value because it's a little darker, but and I think I'm going to go with this shadow. So it's not so much darker in value because we've got light that's going to come through in between the rock formation here and that mountain back there, and that light is going to spill through in between these things. So I actually want this to be just ever so slightly darker in value from the mountain, and that's just a little too close to me, so I need to darken it up. See, this value and that value are so close that I actually want to darken this one up just a tad, just to make it very obvious that we've got, there we go, that we've got a difference in value. And so this is going to come this way. And I realize that I'm drawing with a flat right now, but it's got a right angle to it, but that's okay. Trust me, these are going to be fuzzy. This is an old ratty one. So that's the other thing, is old ratty brushes, they don't keep their lines as good. So, and I love these brushes. I love this whole entire line of brushes, and I just oftentimes just can't bear to throw them away because these old brushes just do such a good job doing things like this, right? So I'm just going to try to cover up this area right now. I'm picking up some of this excess paint that I dumped off up there and bringing it down. You don't need, I only need a thin layer of paint. Also too, I'm not closing that gap because this snow is going to flow through there, and I don't want to try to put snow on top of that. So let's get some angles corrected. I want this to be sloping, so I'm going to make the brush strokes as if it's sloping. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush to fill this in, so I'm going to go back over to that filbert just to make it a little easier. I can scrub a lot faster with this thing. Let me fill in that gap real quick and change the angles. Gotta make that noise or it doesn't work right? Isn't that what Bob Ross would say? And this, while this is not a Bob Ross painting, I really do enjoy Bob Ross. If you're not a Bob Ross fan, you ought to be. And his predecessor, Bill Alexander. Watch both those guys. You'll actually learn a lot. And you'll have a lot of fun watching them because they're just good peeps. They've got really pretty paintings. Both of them really opened up the art world to everybody. So when you think you can't paint, trust me, those guys will tell you that you can, and you should believe them because you can. So here we are. All right, so basic idea there. And then I've got one more plane here. So I'm gonna go just a little, again, just a fraction darker. Because this is right behind our main waterfall. So, try not to make your lines straight here. I'm giving this thing just a little bump just to break up the straight lines of the composition. I don't want that at all. There's gonna be a little bit of misty area that's gonna come in, over here, so. Here, we're just scrubbing this in, so this is where you folks who had trouble coloring inside the lines in school will be happy once again, because I'm just scrubbing this in. I'm not really worried about the edges being perfectly inside those lines. It's okay because I can just lay paint right back over the top of those. So pretty interesting stuff. And I'll have some trees, these squiggly lines over here, if you can see them. Those are where I'm kind of marking for some trees to go in. This black line, this darker line here is just it's just a flaw in the surface. No big deal, so don't worry about it if you've got those little areas in yours as well. Okay, so that's actually a little lighter in value, so I want to darken that up just a little bit. So I'm going to come over here with a little bit of darker paint just to kind of darken that up a little bit. It doesn't make visual sense to me because I think, although some light's going to hit it, it might be shadowed depending on how this all works out. This might be a little bit shadowed here, so I do kind of want it just a smidgen darker, and I can always darken it in as we go. But I just want to throw in some color there. Okay. All right, so now we've got 4 planes here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we've gone from lighter to darker, and then this kind of matches that because it's so close to this. They're so close to each other in the painting that I'm not too worried about them. However, over here in this big area over here, this is very much in the foreground for us. We need to make this very dark. That's going to be very dark and shadowed. So I've got this shadow color over here, and I'm just very literally going to scrub this in. So I need a little more paint than that. Oops, Oh, need a little more paint in that. Man, I'm throwing things all over this studio today. I'm in a new studio today, folks. This is my office. We moved from our large studio in Indiana to Maryland, so I'm having a little bit of adjustments for the new studio because I went from a 1,600 square foot studio where you saw all my previous videos into a 120 foot office that I have here. So please bear with me as we work through the growing pains or the moving pains. It's actually a shrinking pain, isn't it? So we're here in Maryland now to take care of my wife's mother. So bear with us as we kind of figure this out. So it'll take us a little time to get into the rhythm of things. But we're glad that you join us, and we hope that you continue to do so. We have a lot of fun painting with you. And while we're at it, I actually have many of our YouTube folks who do take private art lessons with us online. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. We also sell all the art supplies you need to paint this painting and just about any other painting that you would need on our website at artpartyunlimited.com. Just click the shop button and you can get everything you need. Also too, there's I've placed all of the products that I'm using for this video into the video description, so you can just click those hyperlinks and get anything you need. Hey, we'd love for you to support us because if you run to Amazon or Jerry's Arborama and all that stuff, they're not giving you free videos in order to paint. They're selling you artwork. They're selling you paint supplies. So it would really be helpful for you to continue to get free content from us if you would can consider help supporting us by making a donation in the link that's in the video description, or purchasing your art supplies, which is even more fun than just throwing a donation at us. Just get yourself some art supplies, and from us, we'll ship right to you, and just have some fun painting. We really could use your support. Also consider those private art lessons I was telling you about. We do enjoy our painting friends, so we meet with you for an hour session at a time. You can book as many sessions as you like, and we'll help you with whatever it is that you want to do in your art journey. We get a lot of joy out of it. And of course, look for us because we do travel the country teaching classes around. Right now, we're kind of, most of our classes are in the Mid-Atlantic region right now, but we are planning in the fall of 2024 to be out on the road. So if you're seeing this after the fall of 2024, then, look at our schedule and see if we're coming to you anytime soon. We do really enjoy what we do. We have a good time. So I'm just blocking in this color and I'm making it darker. I'm adding in a little bit of ivory black, which is a nice transparent black. I don't always throw in black. Sometimes I like to mix my own blacks out of whatever colors I'm using, but I do keep ivory black in my inventory, well, more often than not, and you clearly see that since it's a transparent black, it really is just darkening up my brown a little bit. And so I'm blocking in this kind of major rock feature that's in our foreground now. And I actually want these striations and lights and darks in here as part of my underpainting. It's going to help me later to see rock formation, and how I want to format rock. And I'll firm up all these lines here at the edge of my rocks with more detailed brushes in a little bit, right? Like we talked about that earlier. So we'll get this blocked in. All right, we're gonna get to blocking in the structure over here with the waterfall in just a moment. All right, so right now I'm kind of blocking in like colors, so I'm kind of working with my browns first, and then so we'll go about that same it's on the same distance from us, and we're going to make the assumption that it's made out of the same materials. So here we go with waterfalls right here, and here are the rock structures on either side of it. So let me get this rock structure in. Now I've loaded a lot of paint on my brush actually, because since this is the main event right here, I want to block this in pretty well. In fact, let me get some more paint, and I actually think I'm going to switch. Well, I'll switch brushes in a minute. Just trying to get this basic shape in here. Okay, now I'm going to take that paint that was up there and kind of pull that down. Again, I just want this also to be a very thin line of paint, and I don't care if I get little messes along the way here, because I can always clean those up on subsequent passes. So not too worried right now, especially since rocks themselves always have lots of different little jaggedy things. They typically are not, unless they've been sheared off, broken, they are generally not full of straight lines. So if I get some little squigglies out there, I'm not going to fret about it. So don't fret about your paintings, because if you do, you know, you're going to get wrapped around the axle about them, and you're going to get grumpy. And you don't want to get grumpy while you're painting, because then your paintings will be full of disaster, and you don't want that. Let's have some happy paintings. So we're going to try not to get upset about our paintings at all. Your paintings are going to be fine. And if they're not fine today, you know, we all have bad painting days, right? I mean, we do. For all I know, I'm going to have a bad painting day today, right? I mean, I'm just taking a leap of faith here, and hopefully if you've seen, now that you're seeing this video, it probably means that it came out okay. But at the moment that I'm filming this video, there's always a question of whether or not it's going to come out, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, there have been times when I have deleted my videos because, you know, before you get in production, because, well, the painting didn't work exactly the way I wanted it, and I want to show you guys, you know, not a bunch of crummy product. So, but I get up the next day and do it again. Oh my God, this one time, poor Karen, if you've not watched the videos with my wife, Karen, she's a gifted artist. There was, I don't remember how many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, we were doing this instructional video, and we had camera malfunctions. So she completed she had to do the video shoot in one day, the complete painting 3 times. Now we're talking about a multi-hour painting. 3 times in one day, because her idiot camera operator technician really blew the shoot, you know. By the way, that idiot camera operator was me. So I kept screwing up. It was new equipment, and I wasn't real practiced with it yet, and so yeah, I blew the video shoot twice, and thankfully third time was a charm. we got it done. But whew, thank God she's a patient person. So yeah, but she had to paint that painting 3 times in one day. So trust us, folks. Things go wrong, whether it's a bad painting or bad equipment. Yeah, nothing in your painting generally is going to go perfectly. Okay, waterfall is going to spill over right there. Okay. And really this whole area, all from all the way over here, all of this, and all of this is all going to be filled in. So we're going to fill in here just so that you know where we're going. All this right here is going to be the side of that rock. Okay, so I'm going to change some of these flavors. So we talked earlier about not getting, homogeneous color in here. So I'm actually going to add a lot of these colors that we mixed previously into the mix here, because I want some of these lights and darks. I don't want it to be just a homogeneous mixture. In this underpainting, we've talked about that already ad nauseum, so I won't labor that too much, but I do want to get some different kind of scratchy marks. Kind of get some lights and darks going. Grab a different color every time I go into my paint. And right now I'm just blocking this in, so I'm just going to scrub, and we'll get some line action going in just a minute. There's going to be some vegetation that's going to go right in here, so when I get to blocking in some greens and blues here, then we'll so I'll show you how to get that done. Okay, so this is going to be shadowed back in here, so I'm going to make this really kind of a bluish brown, so we'll block that in a little bit. And then over here, I kind of want to get this little rock. We're going to have this kind of a big rock sitting over here. So let's get that colored in. That's going to be getting a little bit of light, so we'll do the same thing. We'll kind of block this in using our lights and darks. We'll just kind of grab some of that mixture and have it vary also. Again, this is not a precise painting at this moment. We're really, I'm holding my brush so loosely you can see I'm just kind of holding it overhand and just kind of scrubbing this underpainting in, not too worried about it. Now I'm going to let this painting dry between sections of the video. So as you see me switching, I'll put chapter markers in the video for you along the timeline at the bottom of your screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching it on another platform that we put it on, I'll do my best to figure out a way to tell you where the chapter markers are. But it will have had this dry for a little bit in between each. I am using oil paint, so since I'm not using a drying medium of any kind, this will be a multi-day shoot video just to make things easier for you, because I know that a lot of you tune into our channel because you love Bob Ross and you've seen a lot of our Bob Ross videos. This is not a Bob Ross painting, so I am not doing most of this painting as a wet on wet style painting. I'm doing most of this as a traditional oil paint, oil painting. So I'm allowing this to maybe not dry completely, but certainly firm up a little bit to make the next layer of paint go on easier. I'm going to take a break for now, and then we'll be back in just a moment to finish up this section.